All right. We are live in full effect. Tentmakers live, Tentmakers 101. I just want to thank everybody who is checking us out, or you may be watching the replay as well. If you are watching the replay, then definitely leave hashtag replay in the comments. But I know I said earlier that I was going to come on tonight so that we can have a conversation from Genesis chapter 1. You know what I term Genesis success secrets, Genesis business secrets, and I know that many of us are familiar with the story that comes from the book of Genesis, but I definitely want to make sure that we have a chance and opportunity to go through together just something that I think would be a blessing, something that is very, very, very highly vital, right? For us who are looking to go into our entrepreneurial journey, those who have already started and those who are continuing on their way. Again, if you don't know, you should know because you should be watching this either on my Facebook page or you're watching it on YouTube. But if you don't know, my name is Lionel Mosby Jr. From Tentmakers 101, also host of the Lion and the Lambo podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube as well. If you want to get that live viewing in, right, you can follow us there. So make sure if you are watching this on the YouTube channel, definitely give us a subscribe. Definitely follow us, hit that notification bell so that way you can hear us and find us right anytime that we go live. And our goal really is to help to where Christian principles will fuel our business practices, right? Where Christian principles fuel business practices. We really want to show that there is a merger and there should be a love, right, relationship between our Christianity, right, and our business life. That these things do not have to be separate, but they actually should be working hand in hand. We should take our Christianity everywhere we go, and we should be able to implement it into anything that we're doing in our life, and especially when we're talking about our business life and what we do for God's glory with our hands, right, with our minds. And so, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to push. Now, I'm gonna just give a little brief time for people to just populate the room. If you are watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, then definitely go ahead and shoot the link out to your friends or those who may be able to benefit from this information. Just correct this off my screen. But yeah, those who may be able to benefit from this information, definitely let them know that we are now live. And we want to be able to provide something powerful tonight. We're gonna talk about something vital tonight for you as a business owner, for you who have a gift, who has a talent, who is seeking to use that gift or that talent for God's glory. There's something vital, right? We need to think about, we need to contemplate tonight. And I hope you're going to go through this journey with me as we seek and we talk about it, right? But let me know where you're watching from. Anybody that is on live with us now, I see we have a couple people that are on now. Where you're watching from, you can let us know in the comments. It should be already loaded up to go. We've done a couple lives now. And so if you do have a comment that you would like to make, a question you'd like to ask, we can definitely get that on the screen for you. But where are you watching from? Let me know where you guys are watching from. All right. I see my beautiful wife says she's watching us from Houston, Texas. How you doing? Oh, hey, Miss Karen, how are you doing? Watching all the way from Jamaica. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. If you guys have anybody that would benefit from this information, we're speaking about biblical entrepreneurship, a vital principle from the book of Genesis, chapter 1 tonight. Definitely go ahead and share this with them, right? So that they can get this information as we discuss it live. Now, I want to ask somebody out there. I know that you guys have been doing something for the last 31 days, right? So I want to just ask if anybody can just drop a win in the chat, right? Any win that you had from the month of October. Anything that you look back and you say, man, I did this well in the month of October in relation to my business, in relation to this product or service that I have, in relation to growing this gift that I have? What is something that you did well in the month of October? Something that you did well in the month of October. Let me know. Just drop that in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, right, then go ahead and drop that as a comment, right, on the YouTube or on Facebook. Let me know that one thing, just one thing, right, that you say, you know what, I did this well in the month of October. I did this well in the month of October. For me, what I would say is we started the podcast in October, and we actually have 5 episodes up now, right? We have 5 episodes up now. So, you know, what I'm excited for, the win that I had last month was being consistent, right? With shooting, being consistent with recording, being consistent with cutting up some podcast clips, right? And getting them up on Instagram, on Facebook. And we saw and we're able to generate growth across various different platforms. And so that is one thing that I can say that I did well in the month of October. I see that Miss Karen said that she is doing well. We praise God for that, for you doing well. We pray many more blessings upon you. Anybody else out there, right? What is one thing that you say, this is something that I did well in the month of October in relation to your business, in relation to even maybe your ministry, in relation to a product, a service, a gift that you had that you're seeking to grow, that you're seeking to work on? What is something that you say, Lionel, I did this well last month. I did this well in the month of October. Anybody, if you're watching, whether on YouTube or Facebook, you can just leave that comment in the chat, right? Again, if you are watching the replay, then just drop that in the comment section and let us know the thing that you did well last month. Now, I also want to ask, just as we're discussing the thing that we did well, right? Just as we want to talk about, right, and celebrate the wins that we had last month, because I know that each of us, you know, has had at least one win. Each of us has done something that we did well. But I also want to ask us, well, what is one thing that we didn't do well last month, right? What is one thing that we did not do well last month, right? So I want you to leave a comment of one thing that you did do well. And when I say something that you did do well, something that you actually did in relation to your business, in relation to your product, your service, in relation to growing your gifting, right? What is something that you actually did last month? And you said, I did this thing well. But also, I want you to also drop a comment now and tell me, well, what is something that I did not do well last month? Something that maybe I failed to do. Muja says what she did well last month was working on her podcast with her sisters, TTF Jules, God's Jules. Amen. And so they're working on that podcast, right? They were able to record their first episode last month. So that's something that she said that she did well last month. I see Karen is saying she resolved to be more consistent in promoting her young business. So just like Daniel said, he purposed in his heart, Karen has purposed in her heart to be more consistent, right, in promoting her business, right? And that is a blessing, right? That is a mindset change that all of us has to have across our businesses, right? And so that is something that we did well. Now, I want you guys also to drop, what is one thing you said I did not do well last month? Now, one thing that I did not do well last month, right, I'm sharing for myself, is I was not consistent, right, with putting out lives, for example. I did the podcast, but one thing I didn't do is I didn't do the Tentmakers Live. I look back actually on the YouTube and realized I didn't do one for the whole month of October. I think I did one early in the month, right? I did one early in the month, and then I dropped it for the whole rest of the month, right? That's one thing I didn't do well. Another thing was I wasn't hitting hitting the things that I was planning to do every day. I wasn't hitting them consistently, right? And the reason I wasn't hitting them consistently was because I was failing to schedule things like I was supposed to be. It was my fault, right? I was supposed to be more particular. I told myself I'm going to be more particular and making sure it's either on the schedule, because guess what the reality is, if it's not on the schedule, it's not going to get done. That's how it is, right? So we have to put the things on the schedule. I have to put the things on the schedule. That's something that I did not do well last month, right? I did not do that well. Anybody, right? Anybody else that's watching, we're dropping something in the chat that we did well last month, but we're also trying to contemplate and think about, well, what's one thing that I did not do well in the month of October? One thing that I failed to do, one thing that I struggled at, etc. Right? And now I'm asking, we're talking about this specifically because we're going to go into a vital lesson that we need to learn as entrepreneurs, that we need to learn as business owners. We have to learn this lesson, right? If we're going to get to where we have to get to, right? This is a vital lesson. So I don't want you to leave. And if you're watching, right, I want you to share this with somebody else that you know has a business, that they have a product, a service, a gift, right? That they're trying to do something, they're trying to go something. Share it with them, because we're going to be talking about something vital tonight that we have to understand. I see Miss Karen says she didn't have enough meetings with her business partners because she was distracted. Amen. Amen. You know, it is a blessing, right? When we talk about, I always keep saying the gospel, any true business is a gospel business. And you know, one thing about the gospel is the gospel helps you to realize where you have fallen short. And guess what? If you don't realize where you've fallen short, the gospel can never accomplish the work that is designed to accomplish in your life. You do understand that. We do realize that, right? In order for the gospel to accomplish the work that it wants to accomplish in our life, we have to realize, right, where we have fallen, where we're not meeting, right, and hitting the points. It is bringing us to the point that we recognize at the end of the day that there's nothing good in us and only everything good in Jesus, right? That's the point of the gospel. Well, every true business is a gospel business. The more we are able to recognize where we're falling short, is the better we'll be able to realize, right, the things we need to take care of in order to grow to the next level. I see Muja has said we needed to record more content for TTF Jews. Through Christ, we will get to that point where we remain faithful in creating more content. Amen. So there was a win there, a win in starting and launching. And then there's something to say, well, this is something we started, but we didn't continue to keep going. So these are things that we're recognizing. And I know that other people, as you're watching the replay, I want you again to drop in the comments one thing you did well in October, one thing you didn't do well. Now, we're going to move forward, right? Let's dive into it now, because we're talking about a vital lesson. And because last month we have to see and understand what happened to us last month. But now I want to go to Genesis, right? Because Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, what does it say in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26? It says, God said, let us make man in our own image, after our own likeness, right? Just stop. Let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness, right? Now, somebody tell me what is entailed in God making man after his own image. Just drop anything that comes, whatever the first thing that starts coming to your mind, just drop it in the chat. What is entailed in God making man after his own image? What is entailed in that process, right? Because I'm going to say it right here. God had a specific goal that he set out to meet. His goal was he was going to make man after his own image, after his own likeness. That was his goal, to think like Christ. So in order for God to make man after his own image, man had to think like Christ. Ooh, I love that, right? Now, we're not going to get into it, but when we look at Genesis chapter 2, right, in Genesis chapter 3, we'll see the fact that man thought just like God. But then when he failed, he no longer thought like God, right? But that's a different conversation for a different time. But one thing that Ms. Muja just said, right, is to make man in God's image, right? Man had to think like God. What else is entailed? What else? Somebody else throw something out. What is entailed in God making man after his own image? Because God, this is God's goal. God's goal in Genesis chapter 1 was to make man in his image, in his likeness. What else was entailed in that? For man to be made in God's image, in his likeness, guess what else? Guess what's something that has to be around, right? There has to be an opportunity for man to exercise love, right? Because God is love. God is love. So in order for God to make man in his own image, in his own likeness, man had to have the opportunity to exercise love. So guess what? Man could not be singular and alone. So man had to be social, a social being, so that love could be exercised, right? Not only that, right? Anybody else? What is something else that's entailed in God making man after his own image, after his own likeness? Because it's not just about the making of the man, right? It's not just about the physical attributes. In order for man to be made, right? Guess what else God had to do? God had to create an atmosphere for man to live. God had to make an atmosphere for man to live in order to make man, who he was making, to be after his image, after his likeness. There had to be an atmosphere for man to dwell in, right? So that man could live, right? Anybody else? Just throw it out. Throw it in the comment, throw it in the chat. What are some other things entailed in this goal that God had? Because Genesis chapter 1 reveals the fact that God had a goal to create man after his own image, after his likeness. Right? Understand that. He had the goal to create man in his own image, after his own likeness. So when you talk about all the things we see in Genesis chapter 1, you know what all of those things have to do with? Because we're gonna dive deeper, because we're going to get to this vital point. But I want you to understand from the beginning that in order for God to hit his goal, which was to make man after his own image, there was a lot of things that he had to do before in order to actually see the goal accomplished. The first thing that God did was not scoop down and take dust and call the dust forth to then form man. That's not the first thing he did. You realize that, right? You realize in Genesis chapter 1 that the first thing God did was not to call man forth. That's not the first thing he did. See, when God said, "Let there be light," that was literally a part of God creating man after his own image, after his own likeness. That was a step in the process, because that was his goal. That was his stated goal in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. The light shining forth out of darkness was a step along the way to that goal. It was a step along the way to that goal, right? God's goal, though, was to create man after his own image, after his own likeness. When God called the sun, the moon, and the stars to come forth, that was a part of the process. Guess what? To create man after his own image, after his own likeness. Because the goal was that. The goal was not stars. The goal was not moon. The goal was not sun. But sun, moon, and stars were created for the purpose of the end goal of creating man after his own image, after his own likeness. When you talk about the birds, right? The sea creatures, the land creatures, right? Those things that have been placed under man's dominion, right? Man had to know how to reign the way as a servant leader, right? Just as God would operate always in love, man had to have dominion to be able to operate like God. So, but guess what? These things were made for the end goal of making man after his own image, after his own likeness. God had a goal that he set forth, and everything that we see leading up to that was a step in the process to that goal. Now, I understand that. Now, that itself is one of the secrets of Genesis when we talk about business, right? That in and of itself. But this is the vital principle that I want us to get to tonight, right? This is the vital principle that I want us to get to tonight. And again, if you're just coming on, right, we're talking about the book of Genesis. This is the vital principle that we need to understand as business owners, as those with gifts, as those with talents. We need to understand this if we're going to maximize that gift, that talent, that ability that God has given us. Now, I want us to think about this. Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to see something as we move through. This is that vital principle. Genesis chapter 1 and verse 3 says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was what? That it was good. If what did it say? That it was good. Leave that word good in the comments. Just leave a comment that says good. God saw that it was good. Leave that in the comments, right? He saw that it was good. Now, let's keep going. That's the first day. He said, and he saw the morning and the evening were the first day. Now, let's look at verse 10. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was what? Leave it in the comments. That it was good. It was good. Now, let's keep going. In verse 11, God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself, upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was what? Good. Yes. Yeah, Muja. Yes. God saw that it was good, right? Saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. Verse 14, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, for days and for years. Let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night, and he made the stars also. Verse 17 says, God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. We're going somewhere. We're going somewhere. I want you to see this pattern, right? I want you to see this pattern. And God said, verse 20, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that had life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which is in the waters, brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. Verse 21 at the end says, and God saw that it was good. He saw that it was good. Leave that in the comments. He saw that it was good. Let's skip first. Verse 24 says, and God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and the creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind. And it was so. God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. Now, look at verse 31. Thank you. Look at verse 31 now, right? We see this pattern as we're walking through. God saw that it was good. God saw that it was good. God saw that it was good. Verse 31. What does it say? And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So, what is this vital principle, right? What is this lesson? Let me get a swig of water. This is what we need to understand, right? This is what Genesis is telling us. As a matter of fact, when the Bible is saying God saw that it was good, right? God created something, right? He spoke it with his mouth, and it was so. He created it. Then it says he saw that it was good. What does that indicate? What is another word that we could substitute for the word saw? When it says God saw that it was good, what is another word that we could substitute for the word saw? Anyone? What else can we switch out to get an understanding of what is happening, of what is going on here in this passage. Because whatever it is, it's important. Because God continues, right, to say it over and over and over and over again. You know what it is? When we see the word saw being used, it means that God is inspecting. God is checking himself out. He's performing what we may term quality control, right? God saw that it was good. So that means in order for God to know that it was good, he had to see it. He had to look at it. He had to look upon it. He had to consider it. He had to perceive. He had to have knowledge of it, right? He had to inspect it. God had to say, okay, I'm going to create the sun, the moon, the stars, right? Then after I create them, I'm going to look upon them and inspect them to see if they are exactly what I desired for them to be before I brought it forth. Yeah. See that what this is telling us, right, is that there's one or two problems that we have to be specific on as business owners, as entrepreneurs, right? The first thing is we need clear goals. And this is not a discussion on clear goals. We will have that discussion in the future at some time. We need clear goals. Because in order for God, this is the first thing you got to realize, right? This is the vital principle, right? The vital principle that we're discussing here, just to make it clear, is reflection. Every business owner, even employee, every person with a gift or talent, right? Every person who is any position or place in their life right now, you know what you need time for? Reflection. To reflect where you are and to reflect where you're going. To reflect where you are and to reflect where you've been. You have to consider it. You have to contemplate it. You have to think about it, right? But guess what? In order to do that properly, the first thing you need to do in order to take this vital principle of reflection into your life, into your business, you have to have clear goals. You got to have clear goals. And you have to ask yourself, right, are my goals clear enough? But for example, one thing that people say all the time, we get into the end of the year right now, right? So you know the beginning of this year, what everybody's going to say is, I want to lose weight. I want to get more healthy. I want to get in shape. That's not a clear goal. Let's make it clear. I want to lose weight is not a clear goal. I want to get healthy is not a clear goal either. I want to get in shape is not a clear goal. That's not clear. That's not specific enough. That's not precise enough. It has no time attached to it. It's not enough information for you to go back and know, did I accomplish my goal or did I not accomplish my goal? Because if you say, well, I want to lose weight, well, what if you lose half a pound over the next year? Did that suffice? You lost a half a pound, but was that the actual goal that you had in mind? Yeah, probably not, right? But guess what? You wasn't specific enough. You didn't set clear goals, right? I want to lose 15 pounds by March 31st, 2022. Yeah, clear goal, right? Clear goal. I want to stop having to go to the bathroom every second of the day. But I also want to be able to drink all the water I'm supposed to drink at the same time. So it's not because I'm not drinking liquid. It's because I want to actually take care of this issue that's in my body that's causing me, right, to have to use the bathroom all the time. Yeah, that's a clear goal, right? So the first thing is we have to have clear goals, right? This is why we have to have times for reflection. We need time to actually understand what our goals are even going to be. You know, my friend Cecil, he always makes this statement that you have to plan to plan. You got to plan to plan. Like, you need to set aside actual time to actually plan what you're going to plan. You can't even plan what you want to do for your business if you don't even have time to plan, right? If you didn't plan to plan, you got to plan to plan, right? You got to set aside time to plan. And you got to create clear goals, because when you're reflecting and God is saying, I want to make sun, moon, stars, if God doesn't have in his understanding, in his mind already, what that's going to look like on the other end, it's impossible for him to turn around and say it is good. He can't declare that it's good if he didn't have first, right? This is what it's supposed to be like when I'm done. And so for us, the first thing we have to do is make clear goals. So then, number 2, we can turn around and after a period of time, right? That whatever that period of time that we set, after that period of time, we can examine, we can inspect, we can look upon that which we've done and determine whether it is good or whether it is not good. After that period of time, we can turn around and say and reflect on, did we meet our expectations? Did we hit our numbers? Did we have the amount of meetings we said we was going to have? Did we record the amount of podcasts we said we was going to record? Did we lose the amount of weight we said we were going to lose? But guess what? The first thing you have to do then is to be clear on what you're doing. The second thing is you have to set your specific time that you're giving yourself to meet or accomplish that thing. And then guess what? The last thing is you have to also plan at the end of that period of time to reflect on, did you accomplish those goals? This is a vital, you know, even when you talk about in our spiritual life, many people don't grow spiritually because they're simply not setting goals. They're not setting any goals for their spiritual life. They're setting no goals, right? That I want to. I mean, they don't know what they want to study. They don't know. They set no goals, right? So they don't grow spiritually. But in every aspect of our life, we need to be setting goals, clear goals, concise goals, measurable goals, right? Your goals need to be so clear, so concise that somebody can hold you accountable for them, right? Your goals need to be so timely that somebody knows when you're supposed to accomplish that thing by. It needs to be so clear that somebody can walk in and be able to clearly look at what you've done and what you said you were going to do, and be able to make a quick determination in 5 seconds whether you hit what you said you was going to hit, whether you did what you said you was going to do. Period, point blank, right? But this is the vital principle that God teaches us in Genesis chapter 1. And there are many other lessons in Genesis chapter 1 for us to grasp hold of, but we have to grasp hold of this specific principle, right? So I want to ask those who are watching and those who are watching the replay, I want you to leave in the comments now, because we're now in the month of November, right? At the beginning of this, we talked about one thing we did well in October, one thing we didn't do well in October. But now I want us to say, what is one clear goal that we're going to set out to accomplish for the month of November? Yes, Muja says, God is not the author of confusion, but a God of order. God is an orderly God. And we see in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, how God is so orderly, so precise. There's so many lessons for us to learn in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, about how to operate and run our business, how to be better entrepreneurs. And this lesson that we're looking at tonight, right? The vital lesson is, look, we need time for reflection. And that includes creating clear goals, setting time specific for those clear goals, and then setting time to reflect on whether we hit those goals or not. And the last thing I want to say, right, is God not only set time for reflection at the end of creating the heavens and the earth, because he did. At the end of verse 31, it says, God looked at everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. It was extremely good, right? Abundantly good. He set time at the end for that, but God also set time throughout the process to reflect as well. Day 1, day 3, day 4, day 5, right? He set time throughout to also reflect. You know, it'd be a shame to see somebody building a house, then the house is complete and they realize, oh my goodness, like the foundation is off. The framing is not actually good enough to support the weight of the roof. That's why you got to have checks along the way. But it's no different between somebody building a house and you building your business. You got to have checks along the way to see, hey, am I good, right? Is this good? Did I do good? And at the end of good, there comes very good, right? Just as God, right? His goal was to create man in his own image, his own likeness, and he accomplished that goal. Why? Because he set out to do something on day 1, and he did it and accomplished it. He set out to do something on day 2, he did it and accomplished it. He set out to do something day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, and guess what? By the end of that week, he had done all that he said that he was going to do, and it was very good. And I think it's wonderful because God could have created everything in a millisecond, less than a millisecond, because he just spoke it and it became, but yet he didn't do it that way. He decided to actually do. I love it. That's why I say there's so many other principles here. We're not going to dive into everything, but God could have done it in a millisecond, but yet he chose to do it over a span of time. And I know that this was because it was an example for us, because we can't do things in a millisecond. But guess what? Over time, setting concise, clear goals, hitting those goals, reflecting on those goals, we will get to where we need to get to. So those who are on and those who will watch the replay, what I want you to do now in the comments, drop what your just one goal, right? You should have more than one goals, of course, right? But what is the one thing that you're going to accomplish by the end of November? By November 31st, 11/59, 2021, this is what I'm going to accomplish this month. Just leave one goal. It's a clear goal. We already have set a time for it. This is for the month of November. By the 31st of November at 11:59, I'm going to have this thing accomplished, right? This is what I'm going to do. What is that clear thing that you're going to accomplish by the end of November? So if you're watching the replay, I want you to put that in the comments. Tell me the one thing, the one clear thing you're going to accomplish by the end of November. And I'm going to give you some examples. We have our Tentmakers 101 group on Facebook. If you don't know, if you're not a part of that Tentmakers 101 group, then definitely go ahead and search it, look it up, answer the questions, and come join us over on Tentmakers 101 so that we can collaborate, we can foster growth, and just grow as entrepreneurs and business owners. But we asked this question in our Tentmakers 101 group on yesterday, and I want to just give you some examples of some of the answers that were given, so you can understand, because I want you to make and drop a clear, concise goal of what you're going to do and accomplish. We had one individual said they want to hit $10,000 in sales by the end of the month. That's a clear goal. That's a concise goal, right? $10,000 in sales. We had another gentleman said that he wants to add 9 new business partners by the end of the month. That is his goal for November, to add 9 new business partners for the end of the month. Another gentleman said that he wants to enroll 20 people into his powerful passive rewards program that pays out every single day. That's one of his goals for the month. He also shared that he also wants to give his wife special treatment for his birthday, right? Because his wife's birthday is in the month of November, right? And there was others that was shared as well, but I just want to give you that example, right? These are clear, concise goals, right? Measured in time. So I want you to set a clear goal, a concise goal, measured in time, and then I want you to set times to reflect on whether you have accomplished that goal. But after you set that goal for the month of November, then I want you to then take that goal and set actionable steps of what you need to do this first week to accomplish that end goal, this second week to accomplish that end goal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have to set time that periodically you're checking to reflect whether you have accomplished what you need to accomplish toward that end goal. So one person may say, I'm in 2 weeks, I'm going to check back on November 15th and see where I'm at to make sure that I've accomplished this. I'm going to be halfway done by November 15th. Okay, that's cool. Somebody may say, this week I'm going to set a time, right? Specific time at the end of each week to make sure I'm hitting everything I need to hit in order to accomplish my goals. Some other person may say, every day I'm setting a daily time at the end of the day to reflect and make sure I did what I need to. However you set it up. Look, but you need to set it up. God himself set time to be able to say, hey, this thing that I just created is good. I inspected it, did my quality control on it. And so if God did it, then we should do it as business owners as well. We should do it as entrepreneurs as well. We should set times, right, so that we can actually reflect on what we have done and what we have accomplished, right? So I want to thank you guys for joining me, for tuning in. Thank y'all for who was joining live as well. Specifically, shout out to my wife, Muja, and Sister Karen as well for sharing your comments today throughout this live broadcast. And so share this with others. I know some people may watch this replay. Definitely share this with somebody who may be blessed. I also want to let you guys know that the Lion in the Lambo podcast is dropping every Sunday. We drop every Sunday at 9 in the morning. We only had one podcast that dropped a little bit after 9, but every podcast is scheduled to drop at 9 a.m. Sunday morning, right? So you can begin your week off with some inspiration, with some gems, with some nuggets as you go about your day, your time. We've had some great conversations up to this point so far. We've had the collaboration king. We had the femininity and weight loss coach. We were able to talk to Annie, right, about the 6 figures of childcare. We were able to talk to the Mr. and Mrs. Purjust, right, who run Modest Apparels, right, and also Miss Regina Woodward is our last guest that we've just had on this past week. We're talking about, the business of cars and credit, right? She's the queen of car loan and credit, right? And so we have some wonderful guests that are actually coming up as well on the Lion and Lambo podcast into the future. And I know you're gonna love some of the guests we have. If you desire to be a guest, if you know anybody who would be perfect, right, to share their biblical entrepreneurship journey and talk about the industry that they're in, to share some tips and some lessons, definitely let me know. Want to get them on so they can share that level of expertise so that we can all scale up, right? We can all win in this game and in this journey. We also want to let you guys know Tentmakers 101 again. Tentmakers 101, where Christian principles fuel business practices. Look, man, you definitely got to join the group on Facebook so that you can get in on some of the collaborations that we have going on, some of the blessed things that we're doing and that we're taking care of. And we just want to keep growing and keep scaling up, right? And connecting with other high-level entrepreneurs, other people who are seeking to bring God glory as they're using their business or talents every day for His glory. So definitely check us out over there as well. And also we got some stuff coming for you guys as well. But we'll share it. We'll save it for next time. So you guys will come back and join us on here, right? So again, want to thank you guys for jumping on with us. And you can follow us on YouTube. Lionel Mosby Jr. is the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you get all the lives when we drop. And we definitely will be going live more often to share some more tips We're gonna keep with this series on Genesis, and then we'll move forth on there. So with all that said, man, thank you again for joining us, and you guys have a great evening. Go impact the world. Go impact the world.